Hey there, and welcome to the Reinvention Show, the one and only show that educates, inspires, and entertains you on your journey to reinvention. My name is Carol Wayne, and I am your host for today. Today, we have three incredible guests and one hot seat guest. I have the great pleasure of having Ellis, Valerie Genas, Zsuzsa Novak, and Mark Levine on the show to talk about reinventing yourself and what do you want from your life. So, welcome to the show. Today, I was looking at some reinvention stories, and did you know that Mcconaughey is reinventing his career? He started off doing all those romantic comedies, and he decided to reinvent his career by taking on roles like he did in the Dallas Buyers Club, which, by the way, is an excellent movie if you haven't seen it. Also, Mark Cuban of Shark Tank and the Dallas Mavericks is reinventing his own TV network called Access. He started it as an HD TV channel, and now he's doing what we're doing today. He's going to be offering live programming 24 hours a day. So that's quite a reinvention for him too. And finally, we have my favorite, Sir Richard Branson, who is challenging all the business leaders to pick a cause and use their knowledge and experience and skills to help reinvent the world by taking on a cause. So three great reinvention stories for this week. Now, let's get to our first guest. We have Ms. Ellis, and she has a natural flair for connecting with others and listening on a deep level to help them discover what's been holding them back. Welcome, Elle.
Hi, so good to be here. Thanks, Carol.
You're welcome. So, Elle, tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, as I always like to say, I was born a poor black child. No, if you've seen Steve Martin, that's from a movie. Anyway, so I actually grew up in Columbus, Ohio. A grounded Midwest girl, and I worked in sales and marketing, worked in advertising for 10 years, and then reinvented my life, which people kind of thought I was crazy, to be honest, because it was funny because I started to go work for a personal development company. I knew I had wanted to be a speaker. I knew I had wanted to do coaching, but I did not know how to get into the business, right? A lot of questions for people. Yeah. And so I found this personal development company that was hiring, and people were like, wait, you're leaving a really successful job to go sell motivational tapes? And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing, but thank you for your vote of confidence on that. But it turned out great. It's been 10 years. I had a really successful career with the development company, and have had my own company since well, basically the end of 2008. So absolutely love it.
Cool. And what are you specializing in now?
Yeah, so I specialize really in matters of the mind. When I worked for the personal development company, I taught memory training for a long time, and that's a lot of fun. Really helps people with their presentations, remembering names, and again, with those connection factors. And I, because of that, really became interested in matters of the mind in general, like just really understanding I've always been interested in human philosophy and psychology and why people do the things they do, why we all do what we do. And I actually almost died of a brain injury when I was a child, so the working of the brain is really fascinating to me, and I deal a lot with moving through disempowering beliefs and limiting thought patterns and really helping people just get into a space of wholeness within so that they can create from wholeness rather than try to create in order to achieve wholeness.
Okay, so how does that look in practicality? If I'm a completely messed up person, how would you help me?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said if I'm a completely messed up person, how would you help me?
No, you don't have to be messed up. We've all got our stuff. So I deal with messed up people who feel they're that way too now. But I mean, it's a lot of people, honestly, that I deal with that are very successful, but are looking either to go to a new level in their business, or they are just not feeling a lot of joy around what they're doing. They're doing well, but they just feel bogged down, and they're kind of a little maybe too hard on themselves and things of that nature. So we work with one-on-one coaching. I do a lot of live events and workshops, teleseminars. I also have my blog. I do a lot of writing to inspire people and to help, shift their thought paradigms and help them get into a place of just, I like people, as I always say, we're here to feel good. We want to feel good.
Now, do you find that people have a common thread as to why they're feeling the way they feel?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's a few different things. I think there's an underlying core to a lot of us, of some way, shape, or form. I'm not good enough. Whether it's I don't know enough to get started in this, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too this or not enough of that, and it's just that inner critic that tends to just chat all the time. And if we don't learn how to have a more productive relationship with that voice, it can be really hard in holding us back, because we get caught in that perfectionist trap, waiting until, well, I need to do a little more research, or I need to learn this a little bit better before I get started. And what I always tell my clients is, what you really need to realize is improvement comes through action. You learn the most by actually putting yourself out there. You learn the most by taking that first step, rather than I'm going to wait to take that first step until I've got it all figured out.
Get back to Elle in a second, Keith, and we will continue on with Zsuzsa, if that's okay.
Okay.
So Zsuzsa has a very interesting story too. And she has built an immensely successful lifestyle business from the ground up and helped hundreds of others do the same. When Zsuzsa was 20 years old, she was imported to the United States as a maid. She literally scrubbed her way up into the world, putting herself through school and later business school at UCLA before becoming a master coach. Zsuzsa joined the world of entrepreneurship 9 years ago, helping thought leaders, change agents, and visionaries bust out of the box and create immensely successful business ventures with a global impact. She is a brand elevation and business expansion expert who loves nothing more than helping entrepreneurs stand out and shine. As a star power strategist, she sparks your unique gifts, talents, and message into a brand that is organic extension of your essence. It sounds awesome.
It is awesome. It's even better doing it, I must say.
Yeah. So why don't you share with the audience your unique skills and perspective, and let us all discover how we can reinvent and know what we want in our lives.
Okay, well, thank you for the stellar intro, Carol, and for having me on the show. And I'd say that, already from the get-go, I had a very unique perspective on life. I was born behind the Iron Curtain, being in a prison, and I always just dreamt about that maybe there is more light in the universe than, what I've seen, what got filtered through into my native communist Hungary. And I was one of those children, as I think most of us are, that I had these crazy dreams, and I didn't know exactly how I'm going to make them happen, but to kind of compensate for the boxy, gray boredom of a communist country, my dreams were very, very colorful. And luckily, my parents always cheered me on and encouraged me to dream big. So I decided to become a magical creature. And I didn't know exactly how I'm going to make that happen, but I wanted to be this like rainbow-colored, like kitty doggy fox kind of a being that speaks all these languages and literally helps ignite that inner light in people and brings more brilliance and radiance into the world. And the reason why I wanted to mention that was because I think what happens is that throughout the years when we grow up and as we go to school, we kind of forget about that inner dream that we had when we were children. I really believe that we sort of end up coming into this world with our sole purpose. But throughout the years, there are those layers and layers and layers that end up covering it up. So in a way, the challenge is to go back and tap into that dream all over again. And I feel that the more educated we are, the more, we went to school, the more our parents, probably with the best intention, put us on a certain path, the more difficult it is for us to consider that that might not be the path. Or what if I wanted to get off of that path and do, something new? So my question is really like, do you believe that you can have an absolutely brilliant business and life? Like, do you seriously believe that deep down? Because that's sort of the first step. You know, when you hear people say, think outside of the box, right? Which seems like such a good advice, but, you know, so many of my clients were thinking outside of the box while sitting in a cubicle, you know, and dreaming about traveling and adventure and making an impact. So, you know, I say screw that, screw thinking outside of the box. You actually have to think and act and altogether be outside of the box. So that's what I help people do, literally bust out of the box and bring forth the essence of who they are, which is extremely, extremely fulfilling to me since I have grown up in a communist country. So I feel that even though I've been living in the land of the free for over 24 years by now, every time I help an entrepreneur or an expert to bust out and experience that freedom of being themselves and being able to help out others with their unique gifts and talents in a way only they can, I sort of get to, you know, experience that freedom all over again and stick my middle finger up to the totalitarian regimes of the world, which is really giving me a kick every single time. So that's really what it is that I do. Now, you're probably wondering, like, what does it take to create a brilliant business and life? And usually you need to look deeper than the obvious. And the fact of the matter is that you got to find that alignment in yourself. And what I found throughout my years of doing this and having had the pleasure and the honor of working with some incredible people, that alignment tends to be threefold. The very first part is what I kind of touched on, that soul purpose. That's at the deepest soul level. And that key question is why you do what you do. And I often ask my clients, does your why make you cry? It has to be something so, so deep, because the minute the message and your mission is beyond yourself, you're going to find that instead of having to push forward, you will be really pulled ahead almost effortlessly. So that first question, the why you do what you do, is the most important one really to ponder. That's at the soul level. The second one is at the brain level, and that part is about your star power. That star power answers the question of what? What is it that makes you different? What is it that makes you unique? And here I'm talking about your gifts, your talents, your skills, your life experiences, and all that good stuff that makes you unique and makes you stand out. Last but not at all least, the last part of this alignment happens at a heart level, at an emotional level, and that's your story perspective. And it is really important because as humans, we are very emotional beings. We connect with each other based on emotions. We actually make purchasing decisions based on emotions. We really more so buy somebody's story than, you know, what it is that they're offering, because we feel like we can connect with them. So that last, you know, emotional level, that heart level, answers the question of how. You know, like, how do you relate to your audience, to your ideal clients, or maybe to your child at the moment, whoever you would like to create that connection with and move them forward? And how do you connect with them in a way that's impactful and emotional and memorable? So that's that sort of three-level alignment. Now, I kind of want to go back a little bit to what Elle talked about, that fear, you know, that little voice that's in your head. That's the problem with our brain, that our brain is so advanced that sometimes we are really our own worst enemy. And I really feel that most of us deep down really actually know what we want from our lives when we dare to dream, but we are so fearful. We are so fearful that we're going to fail, that we're going to not fail and be incredibly successful. And then what? Because maybe rich people don't have many friends, or maybe rich people are more screwed up, or they're into drugs, or God knows what. Whatever that built-in story is in your head that's holding you back. So the fear part is really, really crucial to overcome. And I would say that if you think about your soul purpose and you're not entirely sure what it is you stand for, what is it that's meaningful to you, why do you do what you do, then you may want to flip that question around and think about what is it that you really, really can stand in the world? What is it that you would want to fight against? You know, is it war? Is it domestic violence? Is it drunk driving? Is it people being, you know, boxed in and having to conform? Whatever it is for you. But that's sort of the starting point. And I often mention this quote from Joseph Campbell that I really, really love, which is, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." And I believe that that really hits the nail so head on, because we are often, again, relating to this fear we've been talking about. We so often don't want to go to that, you know, painful place. Yet often I feel that our mission is to work on, you know, something that we experience that may have been, you know, painful or difficult. And given what we managed to overcome, we can, you know, give that learning and we can give that wisdom to others and help them overcome their own difficulties. So that's something crucial, I believe.
Absolutely, and I think we're going to discover in this show and in many other shows that it really is about fear and facing that fear head on. And I know for myself, to sit here with a camera a few feet from my face, this is me facing my fear, one of them, head on. So
yeah, absolutely. And I always say, you know, fear is really nothing but an invitation for you to step fully into your power.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Shuja is our resident expert on the topic of knowing what you want as you reinvent your life. We're going to hear from her again in a few minutes. Now I would like to introduce you to Valerie Ginas. Valerie is an author and youth motivational speaker, daring young women and youth to never settle. Her passion is to see young women discover, define, and own who they are. And she's written her book, I Am Beautiful, Finding the Confidence to Pursue My Dreams. Hey, Valerie.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited to be here.
So, Valerie, tell us a little bit more about yourself and the work that you do.
Well, gosh, it's like, where do I begin? I was listening to Juja and what she was saying about us really knowing what we want, but allowing fear to be a hindrance. And one of the things that I've learned through my journey and through the stories of so many other people is you have to get to a point where you are so sick and tired of your circumstance and of your situation that regardless what you're afraid of, your desire for more, like Juja said, pulls you towards making different choices and really going after that thing, even if you don't know what that thing is. And that's kind of what happened for me. I was at a place because I didn't really know what I want. I was in this relationship when I was younger. When I was about 16 years old, I spent 4 years with this guy, and I built my whole everything around him. Everything I thought I was, everything I believed about myself, everything I believed about my future was centered on this one person. And that would have been, even if it was a good situation, that's never okay, but it was made worse by the fact that it wasn't a good situation. But fortunately, I was able to get out of the relationship. But once I got out, it was just like, who am I? What's next for me? And one of my biggest fears was always getting on a plane. I never wanted to travel. My thing was I only want to go where a car could take me, because I was always afraid if I got on a plane, I would die. And if I got on a boat and something happened, I can't swim long enough or far enough in order to survive. So my thing was I was going to stay in a car. But it got to a point where I just had no desire for life anymore.
You work with a lot of young women a
Yeah.
lot of young women who are being pressured by their parents to go to university or college and to take a certain career path. And from what I have seen through my experience in working with women in their midlife, is that quite often they say, why did I ever listen to my parents in the first place? So they were living the lives that someone else wanted for them rather than their own lives. How do you help your young women to find their backbone and their passion and to stand up for themselves so that they don't end up spending years and years in university or college and coming out going, you know what, this isn't what I want. How did I become a lawyer kind of thing? How do you deal with that?
Well, I think it's two things. First of all, I think we need to, one of the things that I always try to do for myself and for others is help us to understand that we have options. You're not limited to what's presented in front of you. You're not limited to your parents' dreams. I think for a lot of us, at least for myself and for a lot of the women that I've worked with as well, we're first generation Americans. So our parents migrated here from different countries, and when they came here, their whole dream was survival. And they did whatever it took to survive. And their dreams for their children was that their kids experienced better than they did. And for them, that meant going to college. That meant getting a 9-to-5 job. They had certain expectations. And when you're raised with those expectations, you start to take on other people's dreams. And it no longer becomes about living for you. Too often, it's about doing things to make your parents happy or doing things to make your parents proud, instead of really taking the time to ask yourself, what do you want? I think that's really that's the second thing, asking yourself that question and giving yourself permission and time to find the answer.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of young people who also seem to be quite lost. And I've got two young women daughters, and one of them knew right from the get-go what she wanted to do, and she's in university studying what she wants to study. And the other daughter, she's the elder daughter, and she still is not quite sure what she wants. So what do you say to people that are now in their mid-20s and they're going, I don't know what to do, I don't know what I want? What would you say to them?
I say follow the trails. Follow the trails of your passion. Follow the trails of compliments. Follow the trails of excitement. I remember I was reading something once, and it asked a very simple question, and it was, when was the last time you woke up excited? And I think for a lot of people, they really have to sit and think about that, because most of us get so caught up in the routine of life. As you there's a lot of people who learn to fall in love with what they do. I think if you flip that and start pursuing the things that you love, it's not a new statement. People have been saying it for years. We know these things, we've heard these things, we just aren't living them. So I would just say follow your passion, follow what you're good at. It may turn out you don't want to pursue it as a career, but at least explore. I feel like so many of us feel like we have to have these answers, and we're so uncomfortable with the quest that these questions would lead us on. Be okay with getting it wrong. Be okay with having to start over. Be okay with trying new things, but you have to actually do something. It's not enough to just say, well, I don't know what I want. Okay, fine. That's the first step. Now what? What are you going to do about it? Read other people's stories. You have to, I feel like we see life as, our perception of life is part of the problem. This is a journey. Part of what makes it so great is the opportunity to explore. Try something. You might find that you fall in love with something you've never thought, but the only way to find out is as you go on that journey, and giving yourself permission to fall, giving yourself permission to be wrong, giving yourself permission to fall in love with something you've never expected.
Yeah. Now, do you think that the parents who raised their children all getting gold stars has anything to do with the challenge that young people are faced with, or is this just another excuse that people would come up with?
I mean, everybody's situation is different, but you cannot deny the reality that in a lot of cases, parents do force their dreams on their children, whether they do it expectedly or unexpectedly. I remember not too long ago, I was at a conference, and I was sitting next to this gentleman, and I was just sharing with him how one of my projects is the I Dare to Dream project, where the desire is to travel across the country, interview women, learn who successfully pursue their dreams, learning their stories so that other young women can do the same. And as I was sharing with the guy, he started telling me about his wife, and he shared how she grew up about 50 years ago. As a woman, her dad came up to her and asked her, so what are you going to do with your life? Do you want to be a teacher, a nurse, or a secretary? And she was like, but I want to be an artist. Yeah. And he was like, no, do you want to be a teacher, a nurse, or a secretary? And she repeated again, I want to be an artist. And he was like, you're not hearing, these are your three choices. This is it. Artist is not one of them. So she felt forced to pick one of those options, because if she chose to do something else, if she chose to follow her passion, she was not going to have the support of her parents anymore. She was going to be on her own. She didn't have savings, she didn't have backing, and she didn't have the confidence to go out there and actually go after her passion. So she ended up being a secretary for her entire career, hated it. But one of her saving grace was the passion for art never died. So she continued to paint. One day she went to an art conference. And as she's at the conference, she gets a call from her husband. And her husband's like, go out to the lobby. And when she goes out to the lobby, she sees all of her painting, all of her artworks and her stuff just in the lobby. And she's confused, and she's asking him, like, what is this? And he told her, you're not coming back home. So she's like, excuse me? And he's like, yeah, you're not coming back until you get your own show. And she's like, but you don't understand. It takes years for that to happen. And he's like, well, I guess I'm going to miss you then. Oh. I don't know what he told her to convince her to stay, because it would have had to been a very convincing conversation for my husband to push me out of my house with all my stuff and tell me I'm not coming back. But whatever he said, something clicked in her, and 2 weeks later, she calls him back and says, I'm coming home. And he's like, what do you mean? And she said, I have my own showing in a gallery.
Wow.
It took years for her to get to that place, and had her parents just believed in her in the beginning, who knows where she could have been. Fortunately, she had somebody in her life who saw the passion and who challenged her. So I do feel like sometimes, whether it's our parents, whether it's other people, whether it's our perception and the expectations we put on ourselves based on what we think our parents want from us, we do hold ourselves back. But if we would take a chance and dare to pursue our passion, this woman was fortunate enough to have her husband. A lot of times we're not going to have other people to tell us, hey, you're not coming back till you do it. We have to learn how to motivate ourselves in order to go after the things that we want, and to put the pressure on ourselves, and to put that demand, and actually just take a chance and risk everything for the sake of living a life that you're excited about.
Absolutely. I don't know how I would react if my husband told me I had to leave.
It worked out well, though, because now she's like one of the top artists in the world. So.
Well, he must have known her motivation and really knew that that sort of an ultimatum would land well, because certainly wouldn't in this household. Okay, well, thank you so much, Valerie. Now what I'm going to do is introduce you to our hot seat guest. And on each show, we're going to have a guest like Mark Levine, who has a challenge that he would like help with, and our experts are going to give him their extremely priceless advice. So Mark is unsure of what he wants for his career and his life. He's presently playing with two paths: building a coaching business or going to work for someone else. He wants to know, where to have focus, and how to spend his time. So, Mark, there you are. Hi.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. So how about you tell the rest of us and the audience what it is that you're grappling with, and then we'll have the experts chime in and help you through this.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and be here with these brilliant other coaches. You know, there's that old story about the shoemaker's kids who don't have shoes.
Yeah.
So I'm the executive coach who needs coaching.
We all need a coach, Mark.
Because I'm having trouble making my own shoes or my own coaching. I am looking for clarity and excitement and inspiration to wake up in the morning with focus. I have been coaching for over 20 years. I started coaching before there was even a coaching profession. I called myself a success coach. My background was in neuro-linguistic programming. Over the years, I've coached executives. I've worked with teams, helping to build alignment. I've done a lot of sales training. And that's the other part of my background, is selling and sales management. And I'm equally passionate about developing business as well as developing people. Most recently, I've been freelancing as an executive coach with a consulting company in New York that focuses on employee retention and engagement. And I love what I do. However, most recently, the business has really slowed down. And I'm at a point now where I need to determine what's next for me. And I think about two things: focusing my time on building a coaching business outside of the consulting company that I freelance for, or going to work for someone else in a sales or sales management capacity. I'm an excellent coach, if I do say so myself, and I guess I'm saying that right.
Good for you.
But other people have said it too. And I'm also a good salesperson. Here's the challenges. As I think about building a coaching business myself, what I know about me is that I am terrible as an entrepreneur when it's just me, and awesome when I'm in collaboration. I'm one of those people who just thrives working with other people. And when I'm collaborating with just even one other person, my brain just goes crazy, my soul goes crazy, and I have all these wonderful ideas. When it's me, it's the opposite. It's frustrating, I don't know where to start, and there's just something about working with someone else on a mission that gets me really excited. So that's the challenge with building a coaching business. The challenge with going to work full-time in a sales position is it's been 4 years since I've been in a senior sales position. In my last role, I was director of development for a small consulting company, and I helped them double their business from the previous best year. But when you look at my resume, I haven't sold in 4 years. And as I look at sales positions, frequently the sales manager looks and says, well, I want someone who's been selling continuously for the last number of years, because then I know you're passionate about it and it's what you care about. So it's frustrating me because I know I can sell. I can actually sell a lot better than most salespeople because as a coach, you know, I'm really tuned into listening. Coaches listen often at a different level than salespeople. So I know that I can make a real difference and have a lot of success. But I get frustrated from sometimes. The other challenge is financial pressure. While I'm manifesting, creating a coaching business or a great sales position, making money in the meantime, because unfortunately my business through the company in New York has really slowed down. So my questions: how do I handle the financial pressure? Do I do something else in the meantime? Where do I put my focus? I'm passionate about each of these things. When I'm in a sales position, I'm totally passionate about it. Getting there feels less fun. I love coaching, I love working with teams, I love developing people and helping them into their alignment. Those are my challenges. I turn it over to the esteemed experts to coach me, to offer advice, to reinvent me over the next 9 minutes so that I leave with passion and inspiration and a clear plan. Thank you.
That is awesome. Thank you, Mark. Now, Valerie?
Gosh, it's always interesting because it's like there's so many different directions that you can go. in terms of the financial thing, one of the advice that I got fairly early on was, if somebody is willing to pay you $1 to do something, then there's somebody else who will also pay you $1 to do it. Your challenge is, how do you get in front of the right people, or how do you find the people who are willing to do that? What do you do next really depends on where you're at. On the one hand, you could say, if you're going to invest the energy in selling yourself to somebody else, you could use that same energy into your business. I think at the end of the day, it really just depends on what you want. I think one of the advice that I would give is to be your own client. What would you do if somebody came to you with that same situation? What would be your best advice? And learning, because sometimes we know the answers. It's really just a matter of taking our own advice and doing the thing that we know. If you're in a place where you do need to get a job temporarily, that's fine, do that, but the caution is to not get stuck in the temporary. If you're going into the job with the intention, like, this is a temporary position as I build my coaching business or as I pursue my ideal clients, that's fine. Just make sure you give yourself a timeline and maintain that and actually do the thing that you said you're going to do. Just don't get, whatever you decide, don't get stuck in the temporary, but only you can really decide what is it that you really want. Is it to be your own, is it to build this business where you will be working by yourself a lot of the time, or is it more important for you to have, to be around other people and to work in a team?
Thank you.
So, Mark, is it more important for you to work as part of a team or by yourself?
It's important for me to work as part of a team. That's why, like I said, I was listening to Valerie, as I think of building my own coaching business, it feels frustrating because I don't want to be just doing it myself. Even if I'm working with wonderful clients, I don't know if that's going to be enough for me. But once you add a second person, if it's one other person, we're building something together, totally changes it for me. I mean, it's 180 degrees how I view it.
Mm-hmm. Great. Now, can we see if we can get Elle back on for her?
Yeah, Mark, so here's my question for you.
Yes.
What, just instinctually, in that blink of a moment, what is it that you want to help other people achieve?
I want to help other people tap into the potential that they have inside of them.
Okay. Okay. Do you feel like you want to work with salespeople? Or just anyone?
You know what happens when I work with salespeople? I almost feel like I should just go out and sell, because trying to change salespeople is hard because they're so stuck in their ways, and so sometimes when I work with salespeople, I just feel like, or sales managers especially. I think the ideal position for me would be a sales manager, because then I have bottom line responsibility while getting to develop people. It's an awesome opportunity that I haven't, again, the voice in my head, and other people have said this to me, is you haven't managed salespeople in 12 years. We want someone who's been managing people for the last 5-6 years. So, does that help?
Yeah. So there's a few different thoughts that I have that I would just encourage you to explore and discover within yourself, because, as you know, I mean, a coach can never give you your answers, but we help you dive in and dig into finding those answers for yourself. And I would really encourage you to take some time when we get off this call, and if you could describe your just ideal day, your ideal job, who you're working with, what they're doing, what they're like, how many hours you spend, I mean, just really set like a timer for 5 or 10 minutes and just write, because this opens up the cogs in your brain so that you're actually getting beyond that surface. You see, when like even I'm asking you questions, you have to go a little deeper to find those answers in yourself. And you may find that either, I mean, a couple thoughts that come to mind, you may want to find, maybe you create kind of a coaching company where because you keep saying you love collaboration. Mm-hmm. And so maybe it's something where you train other coaches to go out there, and that's kind of how you get your leadership, and you're helping get other coaches going and facilitate the programs that they go out and encourage people to be a part of. And or maybe you just form a partnership with somebody and you do some live workshops together or do some co-coaching type of thing. I just feel like you have such power from what you say when you are in conjunction with somebody else rather than just trying to do all of this in your own head. And another thing you may consider is, what if you found a more of a corporate trainer type of position? Maybe you could get in with a specific company and actually be their trainer, so that and especially if you're open to traveling at all, there are companies that will bring you in to actually go around and work with their people. So you're kind of in a management position, but yet you're getting to do your coaching and you're getting to do your training, but you're getting to work with people and facilitate like the activity that they're doing. These just might be some different avenues for you to consider, but I think the biggest thing is going to be for you to dive deep into what your core and your soul is really saying works for you, and just who you want to work with and why you want to work with them, what you're helping them accomplish. Just get into all those, who, what, where, when, why kind of questions, but they are really important to dive into, and then you're going to find, and that's why, again, I'm just going to encourage you to not just write what's on the surface. Set that timer for 5 or 10 minutes and don't stop writing until it's off, because that's when you get deeper and deeper and deeper. So if you get stuck, to actually just go, I feel stuck right now, so what else do I want? What else is and just encourage yourself to, and write by hand, because it's more powerful of a brain connection with your motor skills, and just continue to just ask yourself questions, because you're going to find it deep down inside of you. You've just got to get out of all the surface noise that's coming when you just kind of visit in these top moments, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Now, our resident expert, Zsuzsa. Zsuzsa is going to weigh in and help Mark now, too.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Zsuzsa.
So first of all, I would say that, this is a really good problem to have, because it sounds like you have a lot of skills and a lot of passion and a lot of experience that you're bringing to the table. However, I did notice when you were speaking that you spent way more time on the fear part, not surprisingly, because that's what happens when we are at crossroads. So, following sort of the 20-80 rule, you spent about 20% saying, like, yeah, I'm excited about coaching, yeah, I'm excited about sales, and then all the fears started bubbling up, the doing it alone, the financial pressure, how is it going to be, what I have on my resume, and all that. So the first thing would be to try to shift that and really not focus so much on the fear. And as a strategist, I would say, let's separate the problems. You mentioned the issue of not having an immediate cash flow. And then there is this other problem, was like, okay, well, what is my dream? What do I really want to do? Instead of mingling, with those two, let's, separate them out, because they really don't have that much to do with one another. It might be a better way to figure out, like, how can I actually solve my cash flow problem? And then number two, what do I want? What is it, that I'd like to pursue? Because maybe your financial issue and your cash flow problem has nothing to do with the path you're going to be on, and that really should not be affecting your path. You know what I mean? Because when these two are connected, you may be thinking, wow, what is easier for me to start? How can I get the money rolling? Maybe it's faster for me to get into a sales position, and then I will have the steady paycheck. So first, I would say, let's separate these two, and I would suggest that you spend time thinking about how could you create that quick boost, that cash flow coming in, totally separate from figuring out your path. That's number one. Number two, I would like to ask you for really just taking a moment to think about when you were at your happiest coaching. Okay, just put yourself in that situation right now. You were working with that amazing client. You were loving it. Okay, are you there?
Yeah, there's a few times. So.
Okay, so just try to tune into that right now. Just take a moment to think about the best possible experience that you had when it was so exciting. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from a 1 to 10, what level is your excitement at, that happiness?
When that experience, it was a 10.
Okay, cool. Now let's put that aside and think about a sales experience. When you were selling, when you were working for a company, in your sales job. Put yourself in that situation. Try to remember the circumstances. What were you doing? What were you selling? What calls were you making? Are you there?
I'm there, yes.
Okay, cool. 1 to 10, what was that level of excitement?
That was a 8 or a 9.
Okay, so there's your answer. So the coaching is something you're way more passionate about now. I would suggest, sort of along the lines of what Elle was saying, that there might be a hybrid solution, because I think your main fear is, how can I make it happen on my own? So there may be a way to think about doing coaching, which I'm sure you're absolutely brilliant at, but doing it with other people, teaming up, getting hired on team of other coaches. It was interesting how Al mentioned that you can work in maybe sales and training at some company. So I would say there are so many very, very successful coaching companies that are constantly looking for people in sales or in training or in event coaching. So that could be a great opportunity, or perhaps really finding another coach that's in the arena of what you like and teaming up with that person. And I would also say that eventually, even when you get to having your own business, I know that throughout the years, I started out on my own, and then I started building a team. And the fact that I have a team now who are brilliant at things that I don't want to deal with makes a heck of a difference for me. So I can really focus on what I'm great at and what I'm passionate about and what I love, yet still I have people on my team that I get to brainstorm with and play with. It makes a huge difference. I hope that helped.
Thank you. That was awesome. I love the idea of separating the two issues from each other, because you're right, the cash flow is an important issue to look at.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, great. Now, Mark, in your summary that you sent to me, there was a particular area of coaching that you were interested in, and that was with leadership and leading from the heart. Is that right?
Yes, exactly, yes.
Okay, so in the beginning of the show, I said I had a little surprise. I am working on a collaboration project myself. I'm working with a fellow who is working, his focus is with organizational culture. And my piece of the collaboration is all about marrying the culture of the organization with the customer experience. Now, what I would like to do after the show is bring you on a call with my collaborator to see if the three of us can collaborate on this project, because where we come from is leading using our heart. So it's building engagement with employees, which is where your background is, building engagement with the customers, and having a heart-centered organization. So if you're interested in that, we can certainly talk afterwards.
That sounds great. That sounds, I mean, when you said it, my body just lit up, so.
I know, and you know,
I guess that excites me.
Our paths were meant to cross. Each of us on this panel, our paths were meant to cross. And I firmly believe that collaboration is the way of the future. It was the way of the past, but we sort of forgot about it. But it's the way of the future, and together we can do way more than we can on our own. So that's my piece of advice, which wasn't really advice at all. Anyways, so we're getting ready to wrap up the show, and one of the other surprises we like to give is that our guests have a little offer for you if you're interested. And how you would get it is you would go to thereinventionshow.com and opt in. There's a little box on the website that says put in your name and email, and when you do that, then you will get these gifts. So Valerie, tell us what your gift is for the guest, or for the audience, I should say.
Well, a new copy of my anniversary edition of my book, I Am Beautiful, Finding the Confidence to Pursue Your Dreams.
Great. Thank you very much. And Zsuzsa.
My gift is actually a free quiz, because I found, having worked with clients through the past 9 years, that we often have a difficulty stepping into a bigger vision of ourselves. And I developed this really, really fun little quiz that you can find at starpoweryou.com. And if you go there, it's completely free. There's nothing to get. If you take the quiz, you will be able to find out what is your unique star power. Because I truly believe that throughout our lives, when they asked us, like, how smart are you? How brilliant are you? That was really the wrong question to ask. The question should be, how are you brilliant? We all have our unique brilliance. And when you step into that bigger vision of yourself and who you are, then you will find that it's so much easier to get on your path and make your dreams happen. So again, the quiz is at starpoweryou.com.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Zsuzsa. Now, what I would like to do is challenge the audience, and Elle brought this up already, and I believe all the guests brought this up. But here's my challenge for you when you know what you want, how to find out what you want from your life. And that is, as Elle said, to write down what your ideal day looks like. But I want you to not only write it down, I want you to think about what smells, what sights, what you're tasting, what you're touching, what's around you, how you're feeling. Write it all down. Then I would like for you to videotape it. The reason is when you watch the videotape back, you can see if it's really your ideal life. So that's my challenge for you for this week, to make a video of your ideal life. And the other thing is, be sure to go to thereinventionshow.com and opt in so that you can get the freebies, and join us on Facebook too. We're at facebook.com/reinventionshow. Put comments below this video on the site, and we will see you next week for a show that's all about reinventing parenting. So thank you so much to all my guests, to Elle, to Valerie, to Zsuzsa, and to you too, Mark. Until next week, ciao.